is real. And every day we are seeing other issues that correlate the two. And because of that, IGAD member states endorsed IGAD climate security mechanism, which is coordinated by IGAD. The recent study that we made, which focuses on Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia, we realized that climate-related shocks affect communal security. The conflict increases as climate-related extreme weather events are increasing. The title of this theme also indicates that the impact of climate-related shocks on our communities. It shows that the first of climate shocks are our communities. They are not only the victims, they are also the front line. Whoever proposed that title should be rewarded, really. Whoever was that. The title from the ground up. Scaling up that's very important. Therefore, I know our principals have a tight schedule. I should not keep you here unnecessarily. So let me conclude. We, IGAD, acknowledges the role of Kenyan government and Kenyan people. Even if you look at our staff, the role of Kenyan is really commendable, and we appreciate. You are leading the region. I remember back when I was a student in 2001, we had Africa Night. Our slogan as Ethiopians was, we run and Kenyans follow. But unfortunately, the next night, the marathon in Canada, Kenyans defeated us. So let me say now, Kenyans are leading and we Ethiopians are following. So with this, let me conclude. We really appreciate your role. And I hope, I say this repeatedly, whenever you get good things, you demand more of that. Kenyans, we need more of your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I also acknowledge that Dr. Engineer Ngeno did visit ICPAC and yeah, was the first. So, Director, you can sit here. Excellency, I'll just give an overview of the IGAD climate security mechanism. The IGAD climate security mechanism is an establishment of the IGAD's head of states and government, and it was established to help member states anticipate, prevent, and mitigate the outset of climate-induced conflict and displacement through strengthening the shared understanding of climate change, peace, and security, improving coordination on climate change, peace, and security, promoting a common regional position on climate, peace, and security, and identifying international law principles and developing a regional framework on climate change, peace, and security, as well as increasing access to finance and capacity building to address climate change, peace, and security. These were the core mandate given to us by the heads of states. So before the heads of states endorsed the establishment, our experts from the region, when I say the region, I mean the member states and IGAD, have identified the pathways of climate security. And they have identified the following. One is the threat of climate change on food and water security, climate-induced mobility, historical grievances and cultural practices, governance and fragility, maritime security, and rise of armed groups like Al-Shabaab, and how they can exploit climate shocks in terms of recruiting in their ranks. So we have recognized the wicked nature of climate change and how it plays. Some people may worry, what's the Ministry of Interior got to do with climate change? But you're saying when we tried to recruit the focal persons from the member states, we had a problem because climate security is cross-cutting. So, Excellency, I would like to tell you that we were able to draw the focal persons from the Ministries of Environment, Interior, Defense, and Foreign. For climate diplomacy and finance, you need Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For internal security, you need the Ministry of Internal Security. For climate science, you need the Ministry of Environment. And the defense, it has also an effect on it. So the focal persons for this mechanism are drawn from the 4 ministries of each of the member states. We were able to train the focal persons, and now we are the best in Africa, the best rec in Africa in terms of institutionalization of the system. And so when the focal persons met, they gave us the guiding principles, which will come. Everything I'm saying here will touch on the Kenyan Climate Chiefs Initiative. And I will be able to address that. One is to offer technical support. The other is to have multidisciplinary, multi-institutional approaches to risk analysis, prevention, and management, data gathering, capacity building, and response. And co-creation and management of knowledge, as well as policy and advocacy. I'm happy to report that we have already done the policy gaps in 3 countries of Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The wicked nature of the climate security will be addressed when we have a common regional policy. These silos, existing policies here and there, will be able to incorporate. We'll have a common regional policy that will cascade down to the creation of national policies on climate, peace, and security. And I like giving a very simple example. During the El Nino in Kenya, you will hear the Ministry of Environment is issuing warning here. The Ministry of Interior is telling people to move from one place to the other. We had even the Navy assisting in the mobilization of people. I think people in Garissa have never seen the Navy, but during El Nino, they were able to see the Navy ministry seated so that each one is prepared. That's now what we call the common one. In Kenya, we call it one government. In IGAD, we call it the climate security mechanism. That's where we need to have it. The Kenyan Chiefs Initiative reads to whatever I said as a regional climate security mechanism in theme. One, it's bottom up and inclusive because it includes the government, community, and partners. 2 is it eases the implementation and communication is very swift and all-round and effective. Chiefs, despite being national officials, are usually drawn from the local communities and are rarely transferred. This ensures sustainability. Once you train the chief, he's usually not transferred. So there is that advantage of him being there for the long term. And then we usually say the national security is not devolved. This is the nearest thing to have it being devolved because the chiefs are local people. They speak the local language. So it's easy for the government to reach out to the local people. 3, it is not only bottom up, it's also top bottom. And I say this, when chiefs communicate, they're able to communicate through the dashboard to Your Excellency, and when there is a recurrent or an emergency, you're able to give directions. So it is bottom up as well as top bottom. So, and in Kenya, we call chiefs disciplined officers. So for them, taking instructions is very easy. I said it's useful all round from early warning. If you have, Director Fidar, when you're giving early warning, last time PS was there, I said it is Safaricom Plus. Kenya is one of the most connected countries in Africa, but Safaricom has also its limitations. And this is where I like to speak from my own personal experience and not refer to the literature. I come from northern Kenya, which is bordering Somalia. When we say all round, when you give early warning, when you want vaccination for livestock, when there is outbreak of disease, even murders and people cross borders, Safaricom cannot reach, the police cannot reach, but the chief, through the clan system, knows who has crossed, and he can solve those crimes through the traditional conflict resolution mechanisms and within the barriers of the Constitution, the walls of the four walls of the Constitution. So it is an all-round. If you are giving early warning, if you want conflict resolution, if you want to control migration patterns, or if you want to ease and you want coordination between two counties and whatever's, if you would want to do the tree planting and afforestation, if you want to control deforestation, if you want to do rent management, the only way, especially in pastoral communities, the nearest person from the national government who has got relationship with those clan elders, and I repeat this, even when they cross borders, he has got that relationship. So that's why I called Safaricom Plus, because he can reach the government message where Safaricom cannot even do. However good the apps you create are, people don't use those phones and they even cross borders, but the chief has got a way of communicating. However good the apps you create are, people don't use. Thanks to your team, we were able to develop a curriculum with experts from both sides. We were able to train them, and we are training the second batch in October. I'm happy to report that. And this capacity building, I can assure you, Excellency, we will see through to the 4,000 chiefs. And we are planning to have it regionally, all the regional provinces. We are going to be seeing through it. So I would say chiefs are an all-round. Growing up, I remember they were the judges in resolving conflicts, they were the police in enforcing, they were vet officers, they were health officers, they used to give warning. So this initiative can accommodate everybody, whether you are giving early warning, whether you are fighting conflict, whether you are solving this initiative, and Excellency, I can report that with confidence. This is an activity that we are taking as a best practice, and we are replicating it to other countries in the region. And I am also happy to report that yesterday, the Ministers of Environment of Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia have endorsed the establishment of such a mechanism, and through the Horn of Africa initiative, and we will be working on it immediately we go back to Nairobi. Thank you very much. So I'm still the moderator. I will now call upon Madam Wangari, representing SRP, whom we worked together for quite some time. We developed the curriculum together, we did the training together, and now she's wearing two hats. Thank you, welcome, Dr.
Dr. Raymond Ombolo, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Internal Security and National Administration. Dr. Engineer Festus Ngeno, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Environment and Climate Change. Our Ambassador, Director Dr. Abdi Fidar, participants and fellow colleagues, good afternoon. I have the pleasure this afternoon to stand before you to speak about the Chiefs Initiative. But just before I do that, allow me to introduce myself, Wangari Kirumba. For about a decade now, I have had the pleasure of working in the climate finance ecosystem at NEMA. And when I look around, I can see very many faces that we've worked together. And so allow me to introduce my current role. I have the pleasure now of serving as the Director Environment Policy at the Ministry of Environment. But just before then, I had the absolute pleasure of supporting a program that was very close to my heart, the National Climate Change Security Response Program. a visionary project under the leadership of Dr. Raimundo Molo that is one of the initiatives that seeks to find solutions to this very problem of climate change. So the program, unlike many other programs that typically are funded externally, is an in-house program created and conceived at the Ministry of Interior as a vehicle to support the climate action in the country, specifically in response to the call by the President to plant to grow the 15 billion trees. And within the role of that ministry, it was a vehicle to provide support and provide coordination for that exercise. And I'll just spend some 5 more minutes to speak to the program itself. So the first objective of this program is to build capacity for the chiefs, as already shared with you, so that the chief, as we know him, we typically or conventionally know the chief as a peace builder, as an administrator, but to be able to invite him to be an active participant, and not just an active participant, but a champion, as someone who would begin to drive climate action, is to then build capacity to this chief. And so the first workflow that this program has been undertaking is to build capacity of the chiefs. Imagine the Kenyan chief who will no longer read the signs, can read through the climate information services that we have in the country, and be able to forestall comes in and somebody to support the process, but unite people. And on an aspect of that program is what you can see there, and is what we are showcasing this afternoon as a government, which is the Chief Climate Action Day. The inspiration, first of all, a baraza, what the community members, and undertake tree planting activity. There are about 4,000 chiefs in our country, and within what they have agreed to do is to do a minimum just 250 trees per chief per location. And if you can do a quick mathematics, but that model, that activity, and that's what we are showcasing here, it has no comparison for scale, for cost, and for sustainability. The third floor is what we call the reporting. They have an internal reporting system, and I am also aware they actively and very sustainably report to the Jazamiti app. It's being done by the chiefs silently past about 11 months. And this is data directly from them that is compiled at the headquarters. And if you see, the first Chief Climate Action Day happened last year. If you follow through, you can see they have an average of about 600,000 trees that their own initiative work. So that, first of all, we shoot a country where we are having the chiefs hold 4,000 events every single month. What else? Communicate to the villagers, because we have the forum here, a self-driven forum. So I invite all of us to just appreciate the potential impact that we can have using this platform. The other workflow that the chiefs are undertaking, and I'll soon be finishing, is that as part of achieving a whole society approach, is that the chiefs are registering 25 groups per location. And the aggregation of the groups is 5 women groups, 5 youth groups, 5 CSOs, 5 churches, and 5 schools. And that means the chief has an army or a level of 25 groups that he is registering to activate towards tree growing. And for purposes of just planning and just looking at figures, if each of that group plants just a small nursery of 5,000 trees per year, in the 10 years of the 15 billion tree growing program, that framework will achieve about half a billion trees per year, but 5 billion trees in 10 years. Because you're talking about 25 groups per location. We have 4,000 locations. So if you do the mathematics, about 100,000 groups across the country, each doing 5,000 per year, leads to that number and ultimately to about 5 billion trees in a year. And this is the space we invite all of us to see how we can support that process. These are groups right at the community level. And so the chief's work becomes the coordination, the communication, the convening, the linking of these groups with technical support from the government, the convening, the bringing around of the forester to work with these groups, the bringing around of the Ministry of Agriculture technocrats to support these groups. And if you appreciate that 100,000 groups moving together need support. I would like to end there by inviting